Hey, it's Michael Fabiano now with Sports Illustrated, and I'm here to help you through this wild fantasy football season. To win in fantasy, you need player rankings you can trust, and ours have received the top 5 accuracy award over the last 3 seasons. Sign up for the all-new SI Fantasy Plus at si.com/fantasy. We even have tools that sync with your leagues and experts who are standing by answering your questions in our premium chat. Sign up for SI Fantasy Plus at si.com/fantasy and win your leagues in 2020. That's si.com/fantasy.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Blue Canary. The bird has landed on beautiful Bainbridge Island, conveniently located at 499 Madison Avenue. ASE Master Technician Clint Ramsey brings over 15 years of experience, award-winning diagnostic skill, and a desire to reinvent the automotive repair experience. Schedule an appointment online at bluecanary.biz or call them today at 206-451-4220.
I'm Maria Metzler, the Executive Director of Helpline House. The global pandemic has affected us all differently. If you or your neighbors need food assistance, mental health counseling, rental assistance, or Parks and Rec vouchers, please reach out. Helpline House can help in many ways. Find us on the web at helplinehouse.org. It's what we do. Neighbor helping neighbor.
This segment of the B.I.Stander Podcast is brought to you by Eagle Harbor Insurance. We don't sell insurance, we help people buy it. This has always been their motto and continues. They understand every family has different insurance needs, be it coverage or premiums. No 2 cases are the same, and they will always do their best to guide you into the proper coverage to fit your budget. They are here to help anytime. Give them a call at 206-842-7410 or contact them online at eagleharborinsurance.com. I got something for your mind, body, and soul. I got something for your mind, body, and soul.
You have found the B.I.Stander Podcast. Now here's your host with the most, Tiny Tim.
What is up, B.I.Stander Podcast? My name is Adrienne Finch. I am a longtime B.I.Stander Podcast listener myself and a friend of the podcaster himself. I am so happy and excited to be here, to be a part of this gratitude series, and I know you guys will love the episodes that I have in store for you. So a little bit about me real quick. I am the host of the SelfMade Mastery Podcast, a weekly show aimed at helping you master your mindset and transform your life. I believe wholeheartedly that anyone from any background can create and live their dream life. And the best part is that I've come to learn is that you only need one thing to start: your mind. So I'm excited to take you on this journey. These are 2 of my favorite episodes. Part 1 will dive into the only way to make a positive and lasting change in your life. Whether it's building a new healthy habit or starting a new business, most people believe that change will come from doing something different. And what most people fail to see is the truth, that this change will actually come from being someone different. So we're going to dive into that in part 1. And then part 2 will be all about the truth about upleveling, how to turn pain into gain. So this will dive into how we can reframe our thinking so that when we experience pain or what feel like setbacks, we can actually program ourselves to view and experience that pain as growth and as a positive, helpful aspect of life rather than failure. So I look forward to bringing you guys along on this journey. Thank you so much again to the B.I.Stander Podcast for having me here, and I can't wait to get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the SelfMade Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Adrienne Finch. How's everyone doing? This is episode 56, The Truth About Upleveling. What we think it's going to look like versus what it actually looks like when we decide to embark on this journey to transition into our 2.0 versions of ourselves, to take on that new business, that new project, to change your career, to overall improve yourself, to up level. We're going to talk about what we envision that journey of self-improvement will look like versus what it actually looks like, which, hint, it isn't all that pretty sometimes, but that's normal and it's worth it. So we're going to talk all about that. What is up-leveling? What does that look like? And how do we reframe our thinking so that pain can equal growth and almost positivity rather than failure and something negative? So my job today is to not make you dread the pain that could be coming, but to be excited for it and for the opportunities that it will bring. So without further ado, stay tuned. You're listening to the SelfMade Mastery Podcast, your ultimate guide to total transformation. I'm your host, Adrienne Finch, and I believe wholeheartedly that anyone from any background can create and live their dream life. And the best part is, you only need one thing to start, your mind. So join me here every Wednesday on this transformative journey to master your mindset and unlock your greatest potential. Let's go. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into today's episode. Hope you all are doing well. And I want to start off by saying this. By just simply clicking on this podcast episode today, right now, you have all made a conscious choice to begin up-leveling, improving yourself, improving your mindset, and growing into that 2.0 version of yourself by unlocking your greatest potential. And I want to congratulate you for doing this, okay? Lots of people out there never have the courage to look inside themselves and say, hey, you know what? I know there's more out there for me. I know I can be happier. I know I can be more fulfilled. I know I was meant for greatness. And I know it's going to take work, but I'm going to do it because it's worth it and I deserve it, right? Not everyone makes that choice. But you have today, whether this is your first episode or your 50th, you have taken the first step, or, maybe you're in the middle, and I'm so happy that you did. So seriously, congratulations. It's a huge deal that you guys are even taking this upon yourselves to become better versions, to improve, to educate yourselves. So congratulations, and thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here. And that's like what we're going to be talking about today is up-leveling and kind of the truth about that. So you guys, whether you know it or not, are doing that right now. And you may not know that that's the term for it, but that is one term for it. So what the heck does up-leveling mean? So what it means is the act of unlocking greater capabilities you didn't know that you had as you fulfill your life's purpose of growing into the best version of yourself and reaching your full potential one level at a time. So basically, you're unlocking your greatest capabilities and you're fulfilling your life's purpose. You're growing into the best version of yourself so that you can reach your full potential. And that is what up-leveling is. So like I said, just by making that choice to listen to this podcast today, to educate yourself and work on yourself every day, you are up-leveling all the time. And this is something you may be doing right now, but you also might be doing for years and years to come. This is a journey. It's a process. There's not really one end goal, right? Because we may up level, we may become the next version of ourselves, but then there may always be another version, right? And this doesn't mean that we're never satisfied with where we're at, but there's nothing wrong with wanting to grow and wanting to change and wanting to become this better, more successful, happy, fulfilled version of ourselves all the time through our life. It's not one overnight thing. It's more of a lifestyle, honestly. You're constantly up-leveling because there are always steps we can take to improve and to grow into our higher selves, right? And I want to point out too that as much as we are all about positivity here, positive thinking and visualizing, that is so important. It's also important to talk about some very real things that can happen during all of this that not a lot of coaches and gurus honestly talk about. But you guys know we're keeping it real here. We're keeping it raw. And sometimes it's a little bit of a tough love thing where our greatest change can come from really facing some of the things that we might not want to face, but facing them head on, facing those challenges, getting to know ourselves and not avoiding them. And it's always important to me to talk about every side of things, not just the sugar-coated, thing you want to hear. So the good news is that through this process, it might not be all roses and butterflies, but the good news is that's okay and that is normal. And in fact, if it were all butterflies and roses, you wouldn't be doing it right. So we're here today to destigmatize the thought that if you hit road bumps along your journey, you're not doing it wrong. The thought is, or people think that they're doing it wrong or that they're moving backwards, but that's not true at all. It's not true. We're here to destigmatize this thought, okay? So right now, I'm going to kind of get into what our expectations are of going through this journey of self-improvement, or starting a business, or starting that side hustle, or switching careers, whatever it might be for you. We're going to go through what do we expect? And then we're going to talk about what does the reality actually look like sometimes, so that we can prepare for it and embrace it and actually allow it to teach us the lessons that we might need to learn. Right? It'll help us to be the most successful and grow in the ways that we want to grow. If we can actually think about, all right, this is what I expect, but let's take a look at what the reality could actually look like, and let's be ready for that, and let's embrace that. So, getting into the first kind of expectation, what we sometimes think this growth will look like: a smooth, easy transition filled with butterflies and rainbows. Right? But let's be honest, nothing worth having comes entirely easy and with no issues and no problems, right? If it's that easy, you guys, everyone would be doing it. And I want you guys to remember that if it was this easy, everyone would be doing it, and they're not. And so there's plenty of room for you to succeed and create your own path and create your own business or whatever it is. And that's what sets you apart from other people. So what it actually looks like, instead of butterflies and roses, as nice as that would be, is that the process of inner growth and change can often feel lonely or painful or scary. And it's because you're going through change, right? And change is something that some humans don't love. I being one of them. I don't like change. It always takes me a minute to just kind of get over this kind of weird feeling of like, oh, I don't want it to change. I like how things are. But despite what your ego and your mind is telling you, you may be scared of change, or you might not like change, but at the end of the day, human beings are wired to adapt and change. We literally are built that way. And as you can recall from one of my previous episodes, I talked about the 5 things we cannot change and how to embrace them. And one of them is that every single thing in life must change or come to an end. Every single thing. And at first, that's a little bit of a scary thought, like, okay, wait, what? Everything comes to an end or changes, but what if there are things that I like, right? But when you really think about it, it's almost comforting. Like, okay, everything does change or comes to an end, and that's okay, and that's life. And just because something's changing doesn't mean what you love about it is going away, or doesn't mean that it's going to be completely different in a way that you don't adapt to. I always use this example, even though it's unrelated, but I think it's so funny. Do you guys remember when like Facebook or Instagram would change the layout of the site or the app, and all of a sudden it's like they'd first change the layout and everyone would be pissed. Like, how dare them? No, I like the old one better. I don't like the new Facebook, blah, 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 blah. And then pretty soon it's like everyone just gets used to it and therefore gets over it and kind of forgets that they hated it. And typically that's what happens. Like, typically us not liking the change only lasts a little bit, only during the transition of getting used to the new thing. So that's kind of what we have to think about in life. Like, we may love how something is, and we may think that we don't want to change or we don't want it to be different. But at the end of the day, we're wired to adapt, and we're wired to get used to those changes and to be okay with them ultimately. So it's not always the most fun thing to think about. But once we can kind of embrace that that's the truth, and that just because we're changing or adapting to a new way of life or to a new city or to a new career doesn't mean that it's going to be scary or bad for you or worse than it is now. In fact, it's probably going to be better, and it's going to be a growing and learning experience no matter what. And despite what you think, we are wired to do it and wired to be successful at it. So that's the first thing. The next thing that we may think will happen is that throughout this inner change or this upleveling, we think that everyone in our current social circle and family will love seeing this change, will support us unconditionally through the process, through anything we go through. Now, this would be amazing, and I wish this were true. And, I like to think positively. Trust me, I do. But this is one of those things that just unfortunately isn't always the case. Unfortunately, there are going to be some people who maybe don't understand why you're putting so much time into your work, or why you're prioritizing your own self or your self-care or your education or, your improvements over social plans or over other people's problems or over things that they want you to be doing. Some people won't love or support the fact that all of a sudden you're making more money. They might feel left out because they can't afford the activities and things that you want to do now, or, they could be jealous, and it can be a number of things like this. But the fact of the matter is that not every single person will embrace this change. And it's sad, but it's true. And you just have to remember that even though some people might not embrace it, it is still the best thing for you. And sometimes you need to look out for yourself and put yourself before others, right? It is not selfish to want to be better. It's not selfish to want to make more money. It's not selfish to want to be successful. It's not selfish to not be satisfied with where you're at and to want more, right? It's not. But people have this notion sometimes that, it's greedy and selfish to want to be rich or to want to make more money. And, you're being greedy by not appreciating where you're at now or what you have now. But who's saying that we're not appreciating where we are right now, right? Just because we want to improve and we want more and we want to be better doesn't mean that we aren't grateful for the journey we've already taken and for the place we're at now. In fact, expressing our gratitude for where we're at now and for all that we've accomplished, I think is one of the reasons that we are able to up-level and become more successful and attract more of that into our lives. Because we're focusing on the good. We're focusing on what we're thankful for, and we're focusing on what we do have. So it's not greedy at all. It's very accepting of where you're at now, accepting of your journey, but also wanting more. And there is nothing wrong with that. And when people in your life are not supportive of these growth or changes, I just want you to remember that it's coming from a place of fear or jealousy on their part, right? Just take a step back. I know it can be hurtful, it can be shocking, but just remember that it's coming from a place of fear. They either want to be in the same position as you and they are not able to make that choice yet, or they're jealous, because they want that, or they're worried about losing their connection with you. They think, oh, you're going to go on to become this huge, cool, successful person and you're going to forget about them. But obviously that's not how it works. It's kind of the famous quote or phrase of like, don't forget the little people when you're all big and famous or whatever. But no, if you stay true to who you are and you maintain the connections and the friends who, are valuable in your life, then you have nothing to worry about in that regard. And they may just be acting out of fear. And, those are valid feelings to have. I understand why some people would fear that. But all you can do is stay on your own trajectory and try to express to everyone what you're working on and why it's important to you, and that you hope that they can understand and respect your journey. And those that really do love and care about you and want to be there for the long haul, they'll see that. And it might take time, but they will see that and they'll understand, and they'll want to grow with you. And the truth is just that not everyone will, but that's okay. And I don't want you guys to let anybody else bring you down or tell you that what you're doing is wrong or, keep you from making this progress. These are all the universe's way of throwing roadblocks at you. Sometimes they're in the form of people. And all you need to do is keep looking ahead and stay on your trajectory, because you made this decision for a reason, right? It's not up to other people what you do with your life. So that's that one. The next thing that we may expect is that our own egos will stay quiet. So the thought can often be like, okay, well, I'm the one who chose to up-level and chose to improve, chose to start this business. So why would my own thoughts get in the way? Like, I am me and I have this idea and I'm doing this. Well, as we all know, that this is just simply never the case. Although I wish it was. I seriously wish. But your ego is going to be probably the loudest during this time, during this up-level, during this journey, or even right before. And your ego is just kind of that inner consciousness talking to you, kind of keeping you in your comfort zone, right? It'll do anything to keep you from transitioning, and it'll offer encouragement to stay comfortable, because staying comfortable is comfortable, right? But do you ever just know you need to do something? Like, this is kind of a good example. Do you ever know you need to do something, like get up and work out? And you decided you're going to. You're like, I'm going to do this because this is a good choice. I'm going to get up and work out. It'll be good for me. I want to do it, right? And then all of a sudden you start creating like all of these justifications in your head for why it's okay if you don't do it. Like, oh, but you know what? I did 2 yesterday, so I don't need to do today. Or like, oh, but I didn't eat that much today, so whatever it is. Like, you naturally, almost without even trying, think of these kind of excuses to justify why you shouldn't do it. And it's literally your own brain trying to stay in your comfort zone and not do what was challenging or uncomfortable, or what you don't think you want to do, but what will make you better. And this is very normal. This is what our brains do. It's so funny that some stuff we just can't really control. Like, you may just have those thoughts come into your head. And my advice for you here is to just be aware that this is going to happen. Be aware that you're going to have restrictive thoughts, and you're going to second guess yourself. You're going to doubt yourself. And this is all good because it means that you're doing something uncomfortable. It means that you are making a major change to progress or to improve. And you're going to ask yourself all of those questions. You're going to be like, well, why am I doing this? I can't do it. No one's going to buy this. Like, maybe this was a mistake, right? And that is so normal. Like, you will have those thoughts. And again, if it was easy and if it was comfortable, you wouldn't be doing it right. So when you do have those thoughts, when they come into your head, just try to remind yourself that it's just your ego talking. It's just your little ego, and you can quiet your little ego, give it a snack, and shut it up. And it's just your fear trying to get you to stay in that comfort zone. But you just have to know that you don't have to be in your comfort zone. And in fact, getting out of your comfort zone is where most of the progress will take place. So this next one hits me probably the hardest because I definitely experienced this within my own growth. And that is that I really anticipated this whole process of creating a new business and increasing my revenue and learning all these new things that I can then impart on you guys. I really anticipated it being this linear progress and growth, like in a straight line, like this leads to this, leads to this, this leads to this. But in reality, what it actually looks like is that progress can be circular and all over the place and zigzag and jagged and left and right and up and down. And as you uncover many layers of things that you need to improve on, or, you know, things that could be taken in a new direction, you're all of a sudden on this wiggly, zigzaggy path. But it ultimately still does lead to where you want it to go. So try not to let it overwhelm you when you realize that, you know, the progress and growth is not entirely linear. It's not like step 1, step 2, step 3. You're going to have to backtrack sometimes. You're going to have to skip ahead. You're going to have to go all over the place. Sometimes there's just no order. And, you know, it's kind of like the butterfly effect. Like, one thing leads to the next, which leads to the next. But it can take a turn and go any which way, which can be overwhelming and a little bit scary and confusing. But if you can embrace that now, if you can kind of understand and know that, like, hey, it may not be linear. It may seem confusing sometimes. I may have no idea what the heck I'm doing most of the time. That is okay. I swear to you guys, at least once a week for the last 5 years of my career, I've woken up and I've been like, literally, what is my job? Like, what am I doing? What the heck am I doing with myself? Right? But like, those are good questions. I think if you didn't feel that way, again, you'd be in your comfort zone. It's those things that are a little bit more risky or more, you know, not something you're used to or not a traditional trajectory. It's those things that are going to make you better and make you actually able to reach your goals. And finally, I think that the thing we expect most while up-leveling is that everything will be the same afterwards, minus like you will just be better and more successful and more happy, but that, you know, things will just be the same. But something that we need to realize is that in letting our old selves go and reinventing ourselves, or just what I like to call creating the 2.0 versions of ourselves. And I call it that because we don't need to 100% change. We love who we are, but we do need to improve a lot of things, right? We need to outgrow and untrain our minds of all of these fixed mindsets and all of these things that we've been taught our whole lives. And we need to kind of develop this new paradigm and worldview that we operate on. So that's why I call it a 2.0 version of ourselves. So just an up-leveled, improved version. So we need to realize, though, that letting our old selves kind of die, so to speak, and reinventing ourselves can be sad. Like, you might be sad that the old you is kind of dead and that the older version of you is outdated. You are the new and improved version. But sometimes it creates a little bit of sadness and mourning, and that's okay. Just remember that you are simply a better version of yourself, and that every step you take towards that will create a more fulfilled and more happy life for yourself. So stick with it. Let your old self go, say goodbye, but, you know, hold it near and dear to your heart and embrace and love this new version. Okay, so I know it may sound like I just threw a bunch of negative things at you, like you're going to feel this pain and that pain and this might suck. But now I just want to end this by letting you guys know how you can shift your thinking so that pain can equal growth in your mind. And rather than failure or some negative feeling. And here's a quote that I really love that I think puts it in perspective. And the quote is that sometimes you must hurt in order to know, fall in order to grow, lose in order to gain, because most of life's greatest lessons are learned through pain. And I know that you're probably thinking, this is all easier to hear and understand than to actually put in practice. But I'm telling you, if you can really embrace this, like if you can sit there and really just every single day think about that quote and try to convince yourself and that you genuinely believe that every pain point you've had and that you will have going forward is going to lead to success, growth and success, whatever that means for you. If you can genuinely start believing that, then it will change the way that you view pain. It'll change the way that you feel pain. You will be excited for challenges that come your way, for obstacles that you need, to problem solve. You'll be excited that you get to problem solve. This has literally happened to me as of recently, where I feel like I embrace challenge in the sense that I'm like, okay, world, like throw at me whatever you want to throw at me because I'm going to figure out a way to solve this problem. And I genuinely find it fun, which is kind of weird and some might think psychotic, but it's not. Like, I'm literally like, yes, universe, like throw at me some challenges because to me, I find it fun and exciting to solve that problem and to come out the other end a better person or having learned a lesson or, more successful. It's actually exciting to me. And you guys can, challenge your own selves to think this way as well, to embrace challenges and to embrace problems and to try to make it exciting to solve them and to beat them and to face them head on. And if you guys can spend a little bit of time every single day, I don't know if you guys are meditators or, I've had such the hardest time getting into meditation, but I know that I should be doing it. And, whatever you do though, to kind of self-reflect, however you've incorporated that into your daily routine, I recommend leaving a little space to just say out loud or say to yourself, like, I embrace pain and challenges, and literally say that quote, like, I have to hurt in order to know, and I have to fall in order to grow, and I have to lose in order to gain, because some of life's greatest lessons are learned through pain. Seriously, I love that quote. It might sound cheesy, but literally it is so incredibly true. And that is how we can kind of take steps to actually reframe our thinking. And I challenge you guys to start doing this now, and let me know how it works for you. The next time a challenge comes your way, I want you guys to stop there and kind of think about it as it's happening. And before you let your mind go into the super dark negative place of like, why is this happening to me? Blaming external factors. I want you to just embrace it and say, yes, come at me, challenge. I'm going to create a solution. I am going to come out of this on the other side, okay? And actually better and like having learned something. And I want you guys to message me and let me know what that was. Let me know, what challenge did you face and how did you approach it in a different way than you did before? And did it work? And I want to chat with you guys about this because, it's important to me that we're able to kind of put these into practice, and it might not be perfect right away, but all you can do is take one step at a time. So to wrap up this episode, thank you guys so much for listening. I just want to say that I'm proud of you all. Congratulations for taking these steps every single day towards upleveling, towards becoming a better version of yourselves. It's not easy, but you're doing it, and you are going to be the happier, successful, more fulfilled version of yourselves. We are working towards that every single day, and I'm so proud of the growth that you've had thus far. So thank you so much for listening today. Starting next week, we're back on our regular every Wednesday podcast episode is out schedule. So stay tuned for that. And I will talk to you guys in my next episode. Thank you all so much for your love and support. You mean the world to me, and I can't wait to talk to you next week. Okay, love you guys so much. Bye-bye.